Hello, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. We have a special guest today. Steve is here from Publicly Buzzed.
What's
Welcome
up?
in.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Salty.
We've been wanting to do this for a while. Joe is here. Welcome in, Joe.
What's up, Joe? Nice to meet you, man.
What's up, Steve? Nice to meet you too. Good to see you face to face.
Hell yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, so I've been chatting with Steve for quite a while on Twitter. And we always talk about this case. It always, he makes a tweet. Always, he always has good things to say. So I'm always going in and interacting with his tweets. So Joe and I were talking about it one day. He's like, it'd be great to have him on. I was like, you know what? You're right. So I approached him, and here we are. Because I think some of the conversations we have on Twitter are good conversations that I think would be great to be held here as well. So kind of
Yeah,
that's where
I'm
we're
just
at.
here. I'm just here for comedic relief. I'm like the gopher in Caddyshack. Like you guys know way more about this case than I do. I mean, we did kind of like a primer type of live one night, so I know more about it than probably the average public, but not much more.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of it too. Like we've been discussed in the past, when they were because Kohberger and Allen were arrested like a month apart, and then the two cases began to progress. And I think some just followed the Idaho case, and some went to follow the Delphi. I was following them both, and Steve's been around the Idaho 4 case as long as I have. We've seen a lot of things happen in this case and around this case, and he brought up some good points when he was live last talking about it. The social media aspect of things, has always been, to me, it's been crazy to watch. I'm like a people watcher to begin with. So watching what was happening with social media as a whole with the Kohberger case was like, whoa, it was different, And then I saw a different level of that over in the Delphi case. Then you see it in the Sebastian Rogers case. Like every case, I guess, is going to have a fair amount of crazy, but some go next level.
Yeah, man. Like me coming in. Yeah, I've said it numerous times on my shows, but coming into this space on the internet and into true crime,
Hmm.
I did it with the Idaho case. Like that was the first one I really dove into, so much so that that's the only thing I covered for probably about 6 months. And yeah, one of the main things that kind of made me want to switch up and to do other cases was the Idaho community in general. Like it's like I love the Idaho case, and I can't wait to get in there. I say this numerous times as well into the actual trial, but the Idaho case is so it just gets people so crazy. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like
It does.
like my
Yeah.
old
It's
streams were
polarizing.
just
It's
full
polarizing.
polarizing. That's a great way to put it, Joe. Because like I don't know, like, and it takes a lot out of you, like to just to fight all the time. So I've tried to like step back
Hmm.
and try. I tried honestly. Those last discussions we were having were some of the best ones because I'm trying to, because I was guilty of it myself. I could get in there and then I'd get mad, whatever. So I'm trying to just really stick with as much factual information as I can at this point
Yeah.
because I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, and then a lot of people take me just trying to argue, because I don't come at it just strictly from the defense side, which a lot of people in this community does. I want to also give some levy to the prosecution, and a lot of people take that as me just being pro prosecution or anti Kohberger. Dude, I don't know. Like, I don't.
I
There's
get
not
it.
enough evidence out there now for me to say he's the
Mhm.
guy. I'm not there, but
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I
It
like to add a
was.
little bit of something extra because there are so many defense dick riders. Just it's heavy.
Yeah.
So I like to add a little something extra, but
Well, yeah, and but this case, is like that. It still is, unfortunately. And it became weird when you people want you to choose a side. You're just like,
dude,
there's
I,
no
I
side,
hate
right?
that, dude.
Yeah,
That
there's.
I'm trying to
And
get
I
away
ran
from
into the
that.
same thing.
Like,
If I spoke up and said, well, the prosecution, this or that, or in any kind of way defended them in any step, then you are anti Kohberger, you are the guilt people. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just looking for an honest conversation about what we see here. Like,
Right.
yeah,
it's
And
so
and that
hard.
the parallels with Delphi are so crazy because it's the same situation. People get so polarized, either Richard Allen is guilty or Rick Allen is innocent and he
Yeah.
needs to be freed. And they've taken their ground, and the jury has spoken in that one. So, I mean, I've said it. You have to respect our justice system and you have to respect the jury's verdict, but he also has his appeals coming up. And you also have to look at the way that he was treated pre-trial. So Bryan Kohberger, the way that he is treated pre-trial is so different than how Richard Allen was treated pre-trial.
Very different.
Yeah, I covered a little bit of the Delphi stuff after it started getting, I think it was not the last 2 months, but the November before, October, November, when all that stuff really started amping up again and court TV was going wild. And I started getting into it a little bit, but honestly, it was so, it's so in depth and deep. It's hard for me to wrap my mind completely around. But
yeah,
anything, I can't not see the weird things though. Like Joe just brought up how he was treated beforehand.
yeah,
I mean, so many weird things are in that case that make you kind of scratch your head. And then when you do sort of look at some of the evidence, going into the realm of weird with the occult stuff, it looks real. It looks like that is happening. So
very much so. And that's kind of what really to me separates the cases is the evidence is going to be always the things. But social media played a big part with both of these cases, and they're not the only cases. There's the Susan Morphew case. There's podcasts named in court documents. The Nancy Grace episodes and the Brooke Houcks have been named in court documents. There were YouTube warrants in the Idaho 4 case back in the summer, well after the case had been advanced, and investigated. There were
coffin daffers mentioned in some of that stuff.
Yes, I mean, good Lord,
wild, right?
She can't keep her mouth out of none of it, right? And in Delphi,
yeah, she is a part of all of it, actually.
Yeah, she does. She's got her toes in a little bit of every investigation out there. I'm like, dang, this lady got a lot of information. Including fake Google searches, but that's a whole other story. But even in Delphi case, there were podcasters mentioned in court documents. We had them emailing the judge, at some point. So everything in social media is all in the middle of the Sebastian Rogers case.
Well, it wasn't just court documents. It was people literally standing in line. I saw it in person. I was only there 3 times total. But people fighting for spaces in line to get into the court hearing, and most of them were social media content creators, like taking up the public spaces. And I met 2 guys in line one day that actually know Nick McClelland personally, and I found out also know members of the family personally, and they were there for them, and they had to wait in line too, like at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's 37 degrees out, standing on concrete sidewalk, waiting for 4 hours to get in line to court. Like the social media aspect of it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, we're living in some wild times, just in general media wise, right? Like no one seems to be trusting mainstream media anymore. And then a lot of people are turning to these content creators. And I think that's pretty cool, actually. Like if you can find like some content creators that because we're going to be following people for long periods of time, and you kind of get the vibe of that person, who to trust, who's being real and who's not being real. You know what I mean? Like you get the vibe of, you can really kind of
Bob Motto is there. Andrea was there. Lawyer was there. But the thing is, they allowed like 24-ish seats to the public. Bob got one of the defense seats, so he didn't count as one of those. But like to the public, to the content creators, Andrea Burkhart and Lawyer Lee and the MS team, all had different perspectives though. Like if you go and watch their daily recap of what happened that day, there were different things that you can pick from each of those things that they saw that day.
Because I didn't keep up with that thoroughly at all. Like even through the Bob stuff, like there's so much all the time. And
there was so much with Delphi. And to me, it's like Karen Reed. If you don't follow from the beginning, you're probably going to get totally lost.
Yeah. That's another one I'm probably not even going to jump into. It's just,
I don't. It's too much. I watch it from afar on Twitter and I read the things and I don't comment or ask questions. I just read a lot of the tweets. and I'm kind of can put my own conclusions together there.
Now,
But it's a
the,
lot to get into there, and I'm just
there
not down.
there may be another one come up that piques my, and Courtney Clenny has piqued my interest.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
But besides that one, the next one that I'm really for sure going to be, and even as we get closer, because I think it's going to be August when the Kohberger stuff goes down, I'm
Yeah,
going to be amping up more streams. I'm going to be trying to get a little bit more,
yeah.
a little bit deeper. But yeah, besides Kohberger, Clinty's, I'm trying to do some murder churches, and I'm going to be even doing more of those as well. But yeah, that
Mhm.
one's kind of piqued my interest. But God, there's
I
just so much, like the content. You know what? Props to the content creators that do jump into all of it, because that's so
Yeah.
much, dude. That's a lot of brain
It
space.
is, and
Like,
Joe and I
dear
talk
God.
about that, with it going, it's a whole new year and growing the channels and moving forward. Where do you go and what do you do and what do you cover, kind of thing. And true crime, to me, is about covering a little bit of it all, you
Yeah.
know. And we do take a deeper dive into things in these streams, which I appreciate, because we got to take dives into the documents. We need to have the conversations about what we're reading in the documents and all the things. Um, are fine. And I don't mean I'm the first one to jump down a rabbit hole or go off in the weeds, but I know when to come out, you know.
Yeah.
I do know that much. So, but there's a lot of good. There's a lot of crime out there, so there's a lot to cover. But even
There's a
like
lot
you
of
said,
sick people out there.
yeah,
There's a
with
lot
the
of sick
shows, like
people.
Joe and I are going to be
True.
launching a morning show, just kind of like the morning news type thing,
Oh,
to,
nice,
to touch on what's trending out there in true crime, and
dude.
even
There's-
going into more in depth with trials, even because I love to watch the trials, especially of the big cases that we follow from beginning to end.
yeah,
So you have to cover the trial, right? But I've never done a trial, so I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see.
that'd be cool.
So
Yeah,
so I'm in a unique position where I'm actually applying to have a camera in the courtroom for Lori Vallow Daybell's
yeah,
trial. She's
Whoa.
representing herself, and it is going to be a shit show.
That one's gonna be
It is.
nuts. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Because
That'll
I
be interesting.
I'm glad that Joe's making those efforts, because I was following the Vallow trial, in Idaho, and the Daybell trial as well, and now Arizona has Lori, and she does, like Joe said, she's got trial coming up there, and so Joe's on top of what's going on there for us, and keeping us posted over on his channel, with streams and updates and all the good things, and you got to go to a hearing over there, so that
two
was
hearings.
2 hearings he got to go see
Two
Miss
hearings.
Miss
Yeah.
Lori. He
I
doesn't
was
like
I
to
was in
say
the
her
front
last name.
row. Yeah, I was in the front row, right behind. So 5 feet. I was within 5 feet of a convicted triple murderer.
Yeah, she's super evil and crazy too. Like,
She
Yeah.
wouldn't make eye contact with anybody in the
Dude.
gallery, which I understand.
yeah, I bet that vibe is nuts. Like, you could probably
It
feel
was.
it. You could probably
The
feel it
energy
coming off
was
of her.
nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could you imagine, right?
People radiated.
Mm. Yeah, you probably needed to go home and smudge and do all the things, say prayers and dance around the backyard, something.
Dude, yeah, sage, like,
Yes, cleanse yourself. Like, I was just near evil. Ooh, it might jump off on you.
yeah, she's creepy. Like,
Yeah. When you start getting closer to these cases and you get in that close, it's like then to see them in person. Joe made it down to the Delphi trial, like he said. He went to a couple of hearings down there as well. So he's making his
Well,
round.
in the trial part of it, Rick Allen was allowed to be brought in street clothes through the main door of the courtroom, where we were waiting as members of the public to get let into our seats. So, yeah, it's within a few feet of him. But back in the August 1st hearing, which was the third of the third party Odinist hearings, was August 1st. I made it to that one.
whoa.
He got brought in through the back door, and I was actually sitting right by the back door. So once again, I was within 5 feet of somebody who now is a convicted murderer. He wasn't then, but he did the crazy eye roll thing, and the judge called him out on it. And why would she do that? But that was interesting too, to be right
Like,
there
he's like
within.
disoriented.
No, like he was trying to act crazy, and I think it was just an act. Like, he was
Whoa.
giving some side eye because the family is there, the social media is there, and I think he was like intentionally like putting on an act, but I don't know.
When the judge said that, did like for him to stop? Did he stop?
Well, she didn't say that until the end of the actual trial. So she
Gotcha.
called him out at the end of the trial. That was back on August 1st, and she didn't call him out like till the very last day of the trial. She's like, "You need to stop rolling your eyes." And people were like, "Oh, how can you tell?" But he did that on that day. So
Interesting.
it was a thing with him.
Well,
And it was
Jerry Holman said he didn't recall Rick Allen rolling his eyes, though. Like,
right.
apparently the
But
judge was the only one to see it, Judge
I
Gold.
saw it on August 1st. I saw it for
Uh-oh.
myself on August 1st.
Yeah.
I did. And
Well,
it
we had
was
that
weird.
conversation too. If you're sitting there in court and you are innocent, or convinced yourself you're innocent, and these things are being said about you, would you be able to hold your composure the whole time and not roll an eye or make a face? Or, I mean, it would, you know what I mean? I know they're instructed not to do that, not to show emotion
No,
even, because you
Judge
imagine
Gold would cause me to roll my eyes for sure.
you're like probably doing more than eye rolling, because my face is gonna
Mhm.
be a dead giveaway.
Yeah, she's
It
brutal,
doesn't follow
man.
the rules. Face doesn't follow the rules. It's gonna react. There's no telling what she would say to me at the end of that. Like, good Lord, lady, get a grip.
Yeah.
Involuntary.
You get an extra 130 years. And I'm laughing but not making light of that sentence. The max, and I would have put money on it.
And
As soon as the jury came back with the guilty verdict, I'm like, she's going to sentence him to the max. I don't care
Yeah.
what the
yeah,
pretrial
and
hearing
you know
investigation is. Yeah,
the approach to the two cases, as far as the defense goes, is to me is very different as well, only based on the Franks motion, right? Because we in the Delphi Franks motion we saw what was laid out there, and if you have never read it, it came from the state's own investigation. It wasn't like a made up rumor that we heard on the internet and let's all go look at this. It wasn't that situation, like with many of the cases in the Idaho 4 case. Um, but we don't know what the Franks motion says in the Idaho 4 case. Completely sealed, not leaked, and none of that's happened here. So we don't know what's in that darn Franks motion. What do they have, or what do they think? And apparently it was so much and jumbled up that the judge was like, well, wait a minute, what is this? Why are you giving me this extremely long Franks motion, but yet you've highlighted nothing that I need to
so
look at to
what do we
grant
know?
you this motion? We know
What
nothing.
do we know?
We know they resubmitted their motion, like the judge said, and point out exactly what you want me to look at here to base my decision on your Frank's motion. Because they had to show just cause that something was illegally obtained
Yeah.
to
They're
get
trying to
that
get rid of
motion. Yeah.
I guess in general the DNA, right? Because they think it was illegally obtained, but through the IGG, the way they did it through the internet.
I think their main concern is, or what they're actually saying in the documents right now, is that they believe that, and we had a show last night and talked about this a little bit as we read one of the documents, the last document that came down. So they're saying, the IGG was used, so therefore anything you got from that related to that has to be thrown out now, because you're not supposed to use that IGG. But here's the thing. I know there's a discrepancy about the dates of everything, when they came down and when they happened. Did the IGG come down first and name, okay, it could be this guy here, Kohberger, and then, or did they find the car the day before that or the day after that, the white Elantra at WSU? Either way, all of that, IGG is still supposed to be a tool to investigate. So that tool is always going to lead you down a family tree, right, back to a perpetrator, and then you investigate that person. So I don't see how. I'm having a hard time understanding how it's not. You know what I mean?
Remember, and it's been a minute, but I do remember I think I have a video on this when it was kind of coming out originally, but I think that they are trying to entail anyways that basically that. So like there's multiple different of these internet sites where you can go and get this, through the family tree, and and find out, your ancestries and all that stuff. And they think essentially, well, and some of those, there's only one out of however many big ones that lets the police actually dig in. And and try to make these matches.
GEDmatch will allow them in.
And I think they're saying basically like that, and who knows, what could be inside of this thing, but essentially that one of the other ones that police aren't allowed to use, who's to say that a police officer can't get someone else to still do this and they can kind of still get the information, which,
Mm-hmm.
it brings up another question, that is a dark area and it is maybe even technically illegal, but ultimately
Exactly.
if it leads to the actual person the way this has with the DNA match through the father at the end of the day with the arrest of Kohberger, I mean, there should be some kind of argument there that, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I can see the defense and the legality of it because, you don't want that to be the norm, but
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're right, that gray area, and I think a lot of us concluded early on this DNA issue was going to be a legality issue, right? Because we know that they use this method or this tool, IgG, in like the Golden State Killer. It was used there. There was a lot of talk about why was IgG not used in Delphi. Would it have gotten the same type of results if it had? Would we be having the same conversation if we had this in Delphi? I don't know. But it became a big deal here because his attorneys saw an opportunity, right? And rightfully so, if there's a gray area there. And notably also, Orthram was given the DNA profile that was found on the sheath, and then was told to halt all their work and turn it all over to the FBI. And that's when people believe, the FBI got involved and they took over, they built out the family tree and did whatever the FBI does. And they're not going to tell you how, when, and why they did it. Why would they do that, right? Give away their secrets. But that they end up getting into these back doors of some of these sites that hold this DNA. That's one of the big questions. And I think a lot of the sites now you can sign, you have to sign and check and do all the things that doesn't allow them to share with law enforcement. But what's the way CC Moore explained it was the databases themselves, like 23andMe, Ancestry, and all these other ones, they end up loading into GEDmatch. That's how they end up making all of their matches across the different things, the different platforms. And that they do allow law enforcement to access there. And CC accesses the same one and builds out the family trees and investigations. Okay. So what's the definition of this tool and how far can you take it before it becomes illegal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. You're explaining it way better than I did. Yeah. Yeah, man. Like which I think, and I don't remember the exact circumstance of it, but it was through Bob Motta and the John Wayne Gacy stuff. But, essentially John Wayne Gacy was arrested, for them to get the guy that they know was doing these murders. They got him on like a technicality, right? Before they could prove what happened. And then that goes back to the question of, they lied, they manipulated, and but they got this monster.
Right.
So like, I don't know. You have the man's DNA on the sheath, which is pretty crazy. I mean, I know it's touch DNA, and there's 1,000 different arguments to why possibly that's not as good as that they're making it out to be, the prosecution side. But I've also heard tons of arguments from experts that think that it is huge. So
same. Both. And I've tried to get, if you got a good argument for me about the touch transfer DNA and how his got there, I'm willing to listen to it, but you need to have some backup of that. And I say that because we're crazy if we think we can just march into a courtroom and say, well, that's not mine, I touched this and that. Oh, that's explainable. Nothing to see here. Everybody go home. It's not going to work like that. And there is a case, and I can't recall the name of the case, but so there was a man that was murdered, and there was another man who was arrested for the crime. So the man that was killed, like the authorities came, ambulance came, and at some point a pulse oximeter was put on his finger, That's the little thing that goes on your fingertip, the little red light. They can monitor your pulse and your oxygen level, all that. So DNA got on the end of that little device. So then that guy goes to the hospital, everything's done. The ambulance gets another call. Okay, I have that backwards. The first guy goes to the hospital and gets the finger thing. So then when the second call comes in, that guy's deceased. They use the same pulse oximeter. And this was all proven in court and how it happened. And so the first guy's DNA was on the pulse oximeter. Now the second guy's DNA is also on there. But the first guy's DNA, they pinned the murder on. But records showed he wasn't even near the crime. All these other things were happening, but yet his DNA was there.
Yeah.
It got on the victim's fingernail, I should say, off the device onto the victim's fingernail. So that made it look like, he was there. It was his DNA. So that was explainable, and it was done in court, and it was a whole big case. People have cited that case talking about this case.
Yeah, I have heard that one because of this. And,
yeah.
And that is incredibly interesting and scary as fuck at the same time.
I know, right?
I was an EMT for a minute or two, and dude, clean your equipment. You have stuff to clean your equipment. Clean that pulse ox.
Yeah, that's how fast it could happen, though, and how easily transferable it is. But
I think it's a really good.
That. So you got to be able to walk into court and say, "Well, that wasn't my knife. I sold it to Joe Blow." And here's when and where.
Yeah, Joe Schmo. You sold it to Joe Schmo.
Yeah, Joe Schmo got it. Yeah, that's him. Don't ask me what he looked like. He was about so tall, bushy eyebrows.
Steve's point about going back to John Wayne Gacy, which is actually when I started listening to Defense Diaries also, was about his podcast. I started listening to those at night, which maybe you should.
Those are amazing. Yeah, those are crazy.
They are. Yes. They are amazing. But it was shitty police work. Like from the beginning, they went to his house. They looked in his crawl space, but they didn't check his crawl space. There were bodies in his crawl space when they went to his house. I remember that from one of the podcasts. One of those casts, Bob talked about how the police went there to his house and there were bodies buried in the crawl space and they didn't find them at that time. They didn't find them till later. Delphi, shitty police work. Are we looking at that also in this case?
Dude, that's a good point. I mean, that's something I don't think can ever be truly looked over. Like in the huge cases, which we see it all the time, because if you're on social media and especially on X, and if you're in this space, you're seeing the craziest stuff in true crime. But in the big cases, I'm just talking the really big ones. The one common factor in all of these is shitty police work. That's why we're here. Like there's so many
Reed.
In all of these cases, they go viral for lack of a better term, or get really big because there's always like a conspiracy side of it. Like that kind of makes sense, right? That you're like wow, but like it's like to the
if they just did their job and they collected forensic evidence the way they should, and brought
the chain
it to
of custody.
Yes, exactly.
All that gets fucked up, dude, and like, yeah, man, like
they bring the problems on themselves at that point.
Dude, attention to detail in something as crucial as a murder. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if like
a double murder of teenage girls, and you leave sticks in the woods for 2.5, 3 weeks.
Some of that stuff's like that. Yeah. It may be like it's the Karen Reed stuff is absolutely insane. Like that stuff's
oh my God.
But somehow
right blood in the cup,
may be worse.
Like I couldn't figure out which one was worse, honestly.
Dude, they're horrible. And then if you get into it, to the weeds with people on Idaho, they'll go into how bad this has been handled as well.
Yeah.
And I can't really fault that either because the deeper again, this is probably the deepest I've ever dug on a case is Idaho. When you listen to some of these interviews with some of the police in Moscow, it is frustrating because you'll have at the same time two police officers telling you two different things. Like in the same press conference, you'll have them there is some really wild shit within the Idaho stuff.
Oh,
Sure.
don't get me started on
I was
police
about to say,
officers.
okay,
Press conferences.
Joe hasn't been down that road with us yet, Steve. So he has with Delphi police conferences.
And
Doug Carter,
Austin, Lady Bird Lake.
Lady Bird Lake, those guys bother him. Now, I have not introduced Joe yet to all things Idaho. And Steve is right. Going back to the beginning of this case almost, we had a conversation too about family members, and I don't go after family members. They can say what they want, whatever. But
yeah, I've always been pretty I don't like how they go after a lot of those folks.
Yeah, I mean, if you got something really hardcore, then take it to the police and let them tell me. But just to go out and spread rumors or hit me in the DMs on Twitter or TikTok telling me all of these things you hope I run with, no, I'm good. I can't. Not with the families, I don't. But in this case, Steve Gonzalez continued to come out early on and talk, and he has that right. That was his daughter.
Yeah, he did.
But he had questions about law enforcement and what they were doing and who the person was and who, why he hasn't been caught yet. And if he felt like the police were not telling him everything. So those things were being said. And then you got the shady business of the law enforcement officers that want to come out and give you word salad.
100%.
There you go. It breeds it.
And people can, in the beginning, before he was arrested, that month and a half period there, it was so chaotic with the press conferences, with what we were getting from police, with the family stuff that we was also getting with the news that was interviewing them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that can also lead to the arguments that maybe because the FBI got involved during that period of time as well, that they needed somebody, right? That we got to figure this thing out. So that leads to those arguments, but I always try to bring it back to logic now with the DNA stuff, with what we don't really even know, like the insane amounts of terabytes of data.
68 terabytes of discovery recently we're talking about.
Insanity. I can't imagine how many surveillance videos that's going to be.
They said they had 67 electronic devices or third-party databases. That's 67 right there and I'm assuming between the 4 victims and the 1 suspect, so 5 people, but 67 devices or third-party databases. We knew there was a lot of evidence in these cases, but then you have to wonder what's legitimate evidence and what isn't. So if they get sent a piece of video footage from a certain time, certain day, certain date, say it's a 24-hour piece of video, is only 4 of that relevant to your case?
Right,
maybe that part discover, the rest is bullshit. So how much of that is really critical and not critical, I guess? And they have to go through it and decide. But we heard this was a problem in Delphi. And I heard about it in other cases where it's just a lot of document dump onto the defense at one time and discoveries, and it's all coming across in large data dumps between all this cell phone stuff they do nowadays and camera footages that eats up your terabytes right there,
Well, can you imagine if Judge Hipple kicked off Ann and her team right now and they took it to the Idaho Supreme Court and got reappointed? All of the rediscovery that they would have to go through and the amount of time that would take.
I couldn't even imagine what they would get kicked off for, like over there in Delphi. It was just, I don't feel like reading your Frank's motion. And by the way, I'm kicking you off the case.
Right. And you need to decide, but you need to decide right now while we're in a closed chamber meeting.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're going to resign voluntarily, or if I'm going to come out on court on TV, the only televised court proceeding was that one where they came out and she kicked him off, right? Am I right in that?
I think so. I think pretty shortly after that they stopped using
and then
allowing cameras.
So the Journal and Courier, the Lafayette Journal and Courier reporter was standing in line with me on day 1 of the trial. And he explained that the reason that we didn't have that televised was not because Judge Gohl said, I'm not going to televise this, because she did that proceeding and Court TV continued to air live coverage after they went off the record. And that's when she said, no, I'm shutting it down.
She
We're
got
not
mad.
televising any of this. So Court TV supposedly had a role in that. She may have needed an excuse, but
and dude, that entire thing that you're talking about is actually a whole different level. We're kind of already talking about these cases, you know, the different types of involvement from the different layers, but the judge, right? Like if you have a judge that is for some reason swaying, you can feel the vibe that they're, you know, either against the defendant that is still just that, a defendant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That gets wishy-washy, man. And the goal stuff is some of the grossest stuff I've ever seen. Like, you know, I've not been watching this stuff for very long. You know, you get, you know, I like some judges and I don't like others for different reasons, but she seemed like, I mean,
absolutely,
an actual mad person. Like
she did,
like a witch over a cauldron in her chambers. Like,
that's what I said.
Evil, dude.
That is what
I've got a name
you said,
for
salty.
Yeah, I've got a name.
You're gonna go there. You're gonna go there.
It's not really a name; it's a title. I think she holds, but I don't know. Am I safe? You know, like
you're on your channel. You're on your channel.
I call her that. Is she a high priestess? I mean, she makes me think these questions.
Dude, yeah. I made a meme once that was basic. I didn't say those words, but yeah, I was kind of referencing like, you know, is she like, I mean, she kind of that gray hair, like, I don't know. I can see her like in the forest, just like
her and Doug Carter out there.
Dude, I can see it.
I know.
Like
it.
Dude, what's crazy is what bothers me about that whole thing is that like that people, like they won't even allow that as a possibility because it's a cult thing or dude, if you really look at this shit and if you just do any kind of research on Odinist and Odinism, it is a real thing that people practice. And whether you want to get into they're killing folks or not, I would say the majority are not. They're just actually normal people. But dude, it's still a real fucking thing. But also there's Odinist murders that have also been documented. Like,
very much so.
And look at, dude, that's what fucks with me. And
look,
it's called allow the thought that it's a possibility because it's so outlandish. It's like, dude,
it's called cognitive dissonance.
Well, when we read the Frank's motion,
so much cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, we saw the Frank's motion, we read it, and we're like, what in the hell? And you're taking in all these things, but then when you look into it, you see how real it was. It wasn't a made-up rumor on the internet. It was an actual
100%.
real thing. And people from the area would tell you they would see the signs of it. I mean, Joe was there. He was passing through.
And I'm not going to be saying any names on here, but looking at that Facebook stuff, when you go down that road, how the fuck can you not see it? Like,
well, apparently they did see it, and quote unquote investigated it. But I can't help but go back to,
oh man,
y'all know y'all have this in your town. Obviously, we know that the people that were looked at early on knew other people in the town. We see proof of that. What about that crime scene from very early on made anybody believe it could have been Odinism and who to look at and why? So that came from their own investigation. They looked at it, the FBI looked at it. They had particular players in mind that they knew were actively doing certain practices. Like you said, were they capable of doing that? Who knows? Not everybody does. But it's very real. It's a very real thing. So how?
Because it seems like there's people that I don't know if I even want to use the word religion or whatever it is.
Right.
Whatever it is that people are getting into, you know, they're not all murderers. You know what I mean? Maybe there's because I'm not going to sit here and shame anybody's religion. You know what I mean? It's whatever. But dude, like, there's also a level and a line that has clearly been crossed. If you look at some of the pictures and some of the stuff that was just being posted by, again, a certain person on Facebook, and there's like breadcrumbs everywhere. Some of the interviews that was done, and I forget, I don't know all the names in this, but there was the interview with the one, and then they dropped him back off at his trailer. He was talking about the spitting on one of what the fuck is like. Yeah, some of this stuff is madness.
And then what made it worse was Lieutenant Jerry Holman just came out and did a couple of interviews. He did one with
gosh,
he did one with the Murder Sheet, and then he did one with Hidden True Crime. And she
I've been
doesn't
seeing
like
people
it.
talk about this. I don't
Yeah,
dive
don't.
into
No,
it.
we're not going to play her video. We're
we
not
got
going to play
I
copyright
her
saw
video.
people getting hit. Yeah.
Yeah, but what was interesting about the interview was what he said in the interviews, and he tried to explain what Elvis meant by saying that statement about spitting on the victim. You know, what would it matter if my spit was found there? Something about Joe, if I remember it correctly. So what it really came down to was what Elvis meant was, what if I spit on the ground, somebody scoops it up and then takes it to the crime scene and leaves it.
Okay, that's a police officer that had no involvement in the actual conversation.
Yeah.
Because that was Murphy.
That's
Murphy
insane.
is the one that had him in the car and was dropping him off at home in the trailer park, and he turned around and he said, "So if my spit's found on the girls and I can explain it away," type of thing. And
Yeah,
Murphy
yeah. The
literally,
quote's insane. Like,
Mhm.
he cried on the stand when I was there. That was August 1st. That was the
wow.
third party
Yeah,
Odinist
Joe was
hearing.
there for that. It was quite interesting testimony from what Joe has told me.
He cried.
Dude.
He cried on the stand when they showed him crime scene pictures. He said, "God, this sucks."
And he
said
regretted not going and questioning.
Yes, and he said the
further.
biggest regret that I had. He said the biggest regret that I have in this investigation is not taking Elvis Fields down to the police station to interview him more.
And now we just had another officer, Holman, come out just days ago and say, "Well, that's not what, not so fast. It's not what we meant. What if my spit got scooped off the ground and
Yeah,
taken?"
no, he wasn't there. He
Who the
wasn't
hell-
there.
But who's
He wasn't
sneaking
there.
around who's going to sneak around and follow this guy and pick up his spit and go take it to the crimes? Nobody.
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
Right?
Yeah.
And he said other things that were very just crazy in the interview that contradict other things that were happening with the case, but we just,
So
we're not
is
seeing that.
another word for contradiction a lie? Like, if
Yeah.
you say one thing one time on the stand and then you say something else later, which one is the lie?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You
You got
one side's always another side of lying.
we were talking about Idaho 4. You got me going down
Yeah.
the Delphi
Well,
the Delphi alley.
The conspiracy elements. Gotcha.
And that's when you
There you go.
try to keep yourself
There you
checked and balanced. What do you
It's hard.
what do you believe out of a court filing, especially coming out of a defense filing, especially when there's a real gag order in place, and damn, Idaho's been gag order from day one. Now,
Dude, there's so much we don't know in that one.
exactly,
Like,
there's
and
just so much, and as well as I do, there were so many alternative theories brought to the table. There were other suspects brought to the table. There were a lot of people looked into, a lot of scenarios looked into, and it was just a bunch of talk in the end.
the only thing that I'm ever gonna, which I'm not gonna be able to find it now. It's been so long since I used to dig into that stuff. But do you remember that? And I used to know the names. Like, my brain sucks, but like, it's the footage. It's like, I think it's the Banfield area, right?
Mhm.
Is that ringing a bell?
Yep.
So like, there's footage with like these cops that are like, that have stopped these kids or college students.
Then at night.
Do you remember the one that has the thickest fucking eyebrows you've ever seen in your life?
Yes.
Like, every time I would when I was doing these streams heavily and I would watch this stuff, and I can never not. And that dude, I think, pops up in multiple things, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even in another.
He pops up around town.
Like, his eyebrows are
huge,
caterpillars on his face.
Like, you would notice them because it was dark out there. There was no light. There was, we imagine inside the King Roadhouse that the only light that may have been on was the neon light, because if Dylan only saw bushy eyebrows, couldn't have been too much light other than enough to see that at least.
And some of the theories used to go into being possibility of multiple people involved, right? Like,
oh my God, there's been multiple people involved. There's been the crimes taking place somewhere else, then taken back to the home. There's been all the multiple players that show up at the grub truck video. There's the "what did you say to Adam" theories.
Enan Harsh, is that his name?
Enan Harsh theory.
He's a neighbor.
He was the neighbor.
It's weird as fuck.
was weird as fuck and came in hot with
Dude,
some interviews.
I straight up did some streams on this guy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
man, this guy's weird. Like, I don't
He's
know.
very
I think
weird.
this guy might have done it.
We learned a lot about Enon, way more than we probably should have
Dude,
known
he
about
started doing.
Enon.
You know what? This case is so crazy because that dude started doing interviews with YouTubers and people.
Yes,
Like,
he did.
what the
He
fuck
made
is
the rounds.
happening?
He made the
Like,
rounds pretty quickly.
like
Um,
that was one of the first times. It had to be. Well, I can't say that definitively, but it feels like that can't kind of been because it's more kind of a normal thing now. Like people can get the scoop, like one of these
right.
YouTubers. Back then, like this dude went on and got interviewed, but I don't even remember who the fuck.
I
But
think,
I was like,
God, there were so many. There were so many that did do the interview.
dude.
I know Lana did a lot. I think.
I think yeah, dude. You're right.
Yeah,
I do remember her. I
yeah.
was live one night when she went live and had him on, and we was freaking the fuck out. And I was like, no way, it's really. I was like, holy shit, it's actually what is happening? I was like, she's
Melissa
actually got this
Jade.
guy live.
Yeah, Melissa Jade might have had him on. I think there were several of creators that had, but there were creators getting all kinds of interviews with people, or
Dude.
getting sourced information from people. Then all of a sudden, I knew a lot more about all these college kids in Idaho.
Oh, dude.
The terrain and I knew way more than a person that I didn't live there, but I sure knew everything.
I started deep diving the like sororities.
Yes,
that was there. The super. Then there's this like church that is in there. Christ Church
and the Christ Church angle, the sorority angle,
and then there's the president's house is right there too, right?
Oh my God, the president.
I think so, dude.
Yes.
There's a whole theory about him as well. He's kind of weird.
Yep, his weirdness and all the theory about him.
Oh my God! Then of course Kim. I forgot about WSU Kim.
You can't forget about Kim in this.
I saw Mara R in the chat say that.
Kim, yeah, mainly. Well,
I used to entertain all of that. Regularly.
WSU Mom Kim is somebody that I feel had a large.
She does not like me.
On this.
She doesn't like me.
She doesn't like me either. And I've tried to be kind to her. I've made some pretty cool videos about her though. They're on my TikTok. Y'all go check it out.
Nice.
I tried to ask her questions even over on another stream. Somebody had her on panel one night. It was question answer. My question was highlighted and put up there, but they wanted to answer for her. I did a whole video on that as well because let her talk.
Yeah.
She's on panel and capable. I asked her a direct question. I need her to give me a direct answer. So Kim, if you're out there, hun, and listening, it's still a standing open invitation with.
She might be out here lurking still now. Who knows?
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I got a lot of questions, but we did a lot of. There was so much.
She doxed herself.
Oh my God, dude. Dago platformed her for like 8 months solid. We did a whole takedown of her over on Melissa Jade by accident. She shows up in chat one night and we're chatting about her, and she insists on coming on panel as usual.
Yeah.
And so they brought her up and she couldn't handle it, and she doxed herself over and over, doxed her child, talked about how things were made up in her head, things were assumptions that she made. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, she was wild, dude.
We got proof of when she first appeared on the scene back in the Facebook group as herself, when she was taking up and supporting for the roommates.
Whoa.
And then she shifted because someone suggested she go find T-Rev on the YouTube.
Oh, wow. Did she first appear on T-Rev before anybody?
Yeah, it's T-Rev with that famous email she sent him, which was almost word for word the exact same thing that true crime, what's that girl's name? Not Alyssa. It starts with an Annalise.
I know what you're talking about.
Annalise.
She was a big one.
Yeah, she came out and did a podcast and said her her friend dated an FBI agent who worked the case, and she kind of gave out details of the case. Everything she said, we don't know if it's true or not, mind that. But yes, Annie Elise, thank you. Everything that Annie Elise stated, that was almost word for word what Kim put in that email she sent over to T-Rev, claiming she had firsthand knowledge of that. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah. Every content
Describing the
creator was trying
wounds
to get a
and
little piece of her
yeah.
for a second. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's actually what she didn't like me. I started doing a live one night after a drunk turkey thing, and I was actually just like, because I don't like, I try not to get like mean, but I was also being pretty blunt, and I was like, she was in the chat, and like, but everyone was just like trying to get her on their shit, and I never did. Like, I wasn't actually trying to get her on, and on this stream I was doing, I was like, why are you like jumping on all of these streams? Like, what are you like? You're actually trying to become a celebrity out of this. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And be calling her out for stuff like that, dude. She got so wild and mad in my chat and just and never really like showed much interest in publicly buzzed after that, which is cool because I kind of thought she felt like bullshit from early on.
I had people come after me in another stream where they loved and protected Kim. You know.
Oh, dude, I remember the crazies, bro.
Yeah,
like,
she had the right to come out and speak, and she was doing the right thing, and we should love her and support her. So if I had questions,
I did that at the very beginning when she first popped up. I was like, oh, cool, yeah, anybody can say whatever they want. But what got me was when she just was hitting everybody. Yeah, she was like, oh, I'm here and I'm here and I'm here. I'm like, what's going on? You're like. Hitting it like you're promoting a movie on late night talk shows. Like, what's going on?
Well, she was on a stream one night. I don't know if she was call in because I made a video about this one too, but she called in or it was on panel, but she made the comment that I'm watching, and if your numbers are down, I'm coming on panel. I'm coming on your panel. I'm like, oh wait, really, lady?
Dude, yeah, she's insane.
You're trolling, and if they got low numbers, you think you're popping up on panels, going to pull the right bucket out of the hole and take them down some crazy train theory on Bryan Kohberger.
Dude, I will say this, and this is to that credit, honestly, which is stupid because she's dumb, but. Dude, if she did pop up, everyone would come and fucking watch. Like that was also fucking annoying as shit because you're like,
right.
So that also made her ego and head even fucking bigger. But you know, she was also sort of just like a circus act. Like it's like I don't know, it all grossed me out. That was one of the also parts that I stopped really liking shit. I was like, man,
that's where you can cut. You started to see you started seeing it for what it was, like I did, you know, and because we were both there along for the ride for all of that. And I was willing to listen, hear her out, but my God, that story kept growing and changing, and different things were happening. And like you said,
it did. She would change things. That's right.
Yeah, like, it would change.
Dude, she's saying this in a field of sleuths, right? Like these people are digging into every fucking word you're saying. Like, what is happening? Like you can't, like your story can't be all over the fucking place. Like
it's like right. And I got to the point. I was like, okay, look, y'all need to pick a theory and stick to that one damn theory. Because right now you got like 50 and they can't be
she did herself generated extra theories.
Extra theories.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because people just like, you know what? She would like be on this. Well, you know what? That goes back to the real weirdness of it. She'll be on this stream over here saying some odd shit. Then she'll be over here saying something that sort of changes it. And then right in the middle, you got the people that are not seeing both streams, right? So then you got these people that are like, no, she said this. No, she said this. Like,
yeah,
what?
Exactly.
I don't know, man. It's crazy.
She was picking up on things she would hear in one stream and then adding it to her story or manipulate. And she even said that at one point about some of the things that she was making up in her head. And those were her exact words. And it was like, wow, lady, we can't believe you're, you know, and I know people behind the scenes were having a field day trying to take up for this lady, warning each other that Kim's on a panel and she's drinking. Oh my God. Like,
they would take up for anything, like and that goes back to that tribalism thing that I hate and kind of want to wish everyone could get away from, is because after they're on someone's side, and just take her for instance, you know, oh shit, yeah, WSU Kim, she's real. So even if it's in front of your face, they're still going to try to fight that. They're still gonna, you know, not everyone, but a large majority of folks will still try to protect somebody when they know they're shitty. Like, what the fuck, dude?
There's one thing that
you
lady
can change your fucking mind.
Yeah, you can. Exactly. Because throughout these cases, things are likely to change as we get more information down, you know? So how could you, you know, it's hard for me because I am innocent until proven guilty. I don't care who they are. And I'm 50-50. I try to stay neutral. Of course, I'm going to lean one way or the other. I'm going to think, oh, this is a crap motion, or whoa, this one's got some teeth, you know, we'll discuss. But for people like Kim, I still can't even figure out what she was doing, what her angle was. And I think that if there's one thing that woman did know, was maybe her kid did go to WSU. Maybe they did find out through these alerts, and maybe through the grapevine of kids talking, she knew that they were finding out before that 911 call, which no shit, we kind of heard that was already happening, right?
Yeah.
As soon as
Yeah,
something
there
bad
probably
happened.
is some sort of truth in there, and that's
Yeah.
just
And that's
crazy.
all there. That's the only truth to it, that, yeah, they, because, when the call went out to Hunter and Hunter rushed over, at that point, kids are notifying other kids. Something's going down at King Road. Something's
Yeah.
happening. Oh my God, something's happening. So there you go. They started notifying each other. Of course, there's rumors probably flying as to what happened. Nobody knows at that point. Could they have been shot? Could they have been killed? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So I think that's all that she did know, but everything else was just added along.
Yeah, I'm
For
with you, man.
whatever
Yeah, she
Kim
was
reason.
insane, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, just added right into what we, are already kind of talking about, the
Mm-hmm.
Idaho madness. Like, but
social media madness.
Social media.
madness.
Yeah. Great way to wrap it back around, actually, because like, yeah, dude, like the closer we get to this, it's even going to probably start ramping up more. But
It will.
I'm gonna be in there. I mean, I'm gonna try to start. I mean, just like I do now, I'm going to throw some
s-
streams in that just are normal.
Oh yeah, you can't help. It's such an interesting case to follow as far as the legalities of the case itself.
It
and
is
the type of evidence and how that will be tried. Also, the polarizing nature of the social media aspect.
It is interesting. Yeah, man.
It's to see where social media sits with it. Even like on Twitter, if you say, luckily our conversation was respectful the other day. We didn't have like the trolls jumping in, but I see all of that on the Twitter all the time, all these comments, and it's like, well, okay, I'm willing to listen, but you've been screaming this for a year or more, but back it up now. It's
I try to stay calm, and
I don't try to. Yeah, I don't
so many of them,
engage.
like, they just like parrot the same things that's been said on these streams.
Right.
Like,
I think Bob says echo chamber, right?
Dude, that's like I said that to one of them, and maybe I don't know if it was in that thread or not, but like in one of them recently, I was like, and she actually took, because I was nice about it. I was like, there's no room to have a good conversation because you're just attacking somebody. Like,
yeah,
chill out. Like, it's not that serious. Like,
well, it's
some of them handle that and some don't. So
no, I don't know if there's just some people who only want to follow the drama, some who only want to do conspiracies, some that honestly believe there are problems, some that are just there for true crime nature of it, and we can hopefully get back to a little bit more of that. Even like you said, covering more things. A lot of people were guilty, even like you have said in the beginning, of covering Idaho for a specific way. A certain way mattered. It mattered to the algorithm, the sub count. It did, and not just with you. A lot of people fell into that. Yeah, and a lot of them fell into that and had to have that same discussion with themselves, I think. But not everybody can pull that off. You know what I mean? Some guys stuck there and can't get out of there. And
I have conversations with myself all the time.
Well, I used to tell people who followed Idaho 4 with me, come out of Idaho for a minute and come over to Indiana. Take a look at
it is better to have, it's better to, if you're going to be in the space, you need to add more cases. Like, you shouldn't just be on one thing, because it'll drive you mad.
It will drive you mad.
Broaden your perspective.
Broaden your perspective, dude. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And like you, following all the cases you do follow over at Publicly Buzz, even with the Murder Church and the different things you do there, you're following cases in law and courts, and you got a gist for how these things work, So
I've learned a lot.
You're able to interpret the filings one way and help your community understand them in that way, and all the things.
They're still up. There's still loads of those old Idaho conspiracy streams up from like coming up on 2 years ago now. I would be embarrassed to watch them at this point, because I mean.
Dude, I was probably in some of those in the comments section.
Probably.
I'm sure that I was.
And I'm still like a novice in this. Like, I learn stuff. I will never probably stop learning stuff, but dude, I feel like at least I have a somewhat better grasp on everything. Like, from just looking around and looking at more cases.
I'm a
Yeah.
brand new baby channel, and I want to take like down the first half of my videos. Like,
No,
but
he don't let him fool you. He's got some good content up. Even when he was in Delphi for the hearings, Joe went
That's
down to
boots on
the
the ground, dude. That's
bridge. Yeah,
awesome.
boots on the ground. He went down to the bridge. He went down to the crime scene for us. He took us to places, and in a way that was respectful of the space that we were in at the time,
That's cool.
where it happened. But also you get that view and that feel of how it really was. I've seen lots of footage from down
yeah.
there, but it
There's
was
no way.
different.
There is
Yeah.
no way a 5'6" dude, 5'6", 140 something pounds, forced two girls, one of them about the same size, the other one slightly smaller, across a flooded creek. I crossed the Deer Creek twice when it wasn't flooded. And there's just, it's not believable. I mean, it's possible. Yes, it's humanly possible, but it's just not believable. After you get there, boots on the ground is completely different. Like, you get a feel for it. And I
Yeah.
might be going back. I might be going back in the near future. Just a
Excuse me.
teaser. Just a
Yeah.
teaser.
And also, while we're talking about it, I need to drop the links here to our channel, or I'm sorry, to Joe's channel and to Publicly Buzz channel. I'll do that. But Joe also went down to Lady Bird Lake on a little road trip he took, heading out to where he is now. But he went down to Lady Bird Lake and did some boots on the ground work there. And a couple of interesting things happened while he was there, down there. And so he plans to do a few more little things like that going forward when he can. So you have to go
I
watch
think
those
that's I
videos.
think I think that's why we make a good team, because you like you like diving into the research like so deep. You get into the court documents and you figure out the court documents and what the defense is trying to say and what the prosecutor is trying to say. And I'm like, I just want to get boots on the ground. Like, I want to go to Delphi. I want to get in the courtroom. I want to cross the creek. I want to get to the south end of the bridge. I want to go
Hmm.
to Lady Bird. I want to go to Lady Bird Lake. I think that's why we make a good team.
Well, thank you. I think so too. And it's always good to get that view and to see the things from the way you can see it down there, and you know what we're looking for, being in the same space here and talking about the things that we do. So we appreciate you getting down there, and you guys go check those out. And I'm about to post the Publicly Buzz link here. And so you did a video a while back, Steve, and it was an Idaho 4 video, correct? It was like a, there we go. Yeah,
The
it's
ones that was like the series.
yeah, your little series you did. I appreciated those because, like, look, I'll do little videos and stuff, but my God, editing to me is like it takes forever, you
Yeah,
know?
them can be brutal. That's actually all I do is just edit all day long for
Yeah,
another channel, actually. But
really. Okay.
but but
Hey,
those were
how
super.
much do you charge?
Hey, if you need some help, I can definitely help you out. You can we can talk about it. But yeah, dude, like those videos, I think I did 3 of them. Yeah, those were cool because I mean that honestly something like that would be smart to do again as we're approaching the
Hmm.
trial, because I dove
Yeah.
back into all that shit. And
Yes,
like
you
I was
did.
like reopening up, like even this right here, kind of like talking out loud has kind of opened up a lot of the old like thoughts I used to have, because it does get blurry. Because that's the one, again, props to all the people that cover tons of stuff and can keep it all straight. I'm sure there's tons of note taking. I'm not the best note taker, but like, yeah, dude, I get lost in that stuff. So like a little refresher is the best.
It really is. And when you did that, when we had already been on the case for a while and went through all the things, and you put it out there you were going to be doing it, so I was waiting. So he did drop it, and like I said, I have viewed them. They're great. But it was a good refresher, right? And like you said, and even with Joe, I talked to him about this because not everybody knows the case as well, and there's a lot that I have forgotten about,
And
or
those are just
you know
facts. Like those
yeah,
aren't really even any kind of like positioning. It's just what was
yeah.
happening at the time in
Hmm.
order. Like
Exactly.
from the day, we first heard about it going through the media, like that's just what it is. Like I didn't
Yeah.
mess with it. You know what I mean? I just put it in order.
Right. Documenting it as it unfolded,
Hmm.
like in real time, because we're literally at a space where we are true crime in real time, and like you said, people are not tuning into mainstream media for their mainstream news anymore, or
They're
for their
not.
the
Yeah.
content they seek, and I choose this genre. I choose true crime. It didn't just choose me by accident. None of that stuff happened. I chose it. And so I don't ever want to get stuck in one space, and I want to be able to cover a lot of different things, because a lot of the different things and cases interest me, you know.
Yeah, there's so many too.
There are so many, and you never know which ones. Like in the beginning, I was telling Joe, I didn't. Who would have thought when Rick Allen got arrested? Like I said, a month before Bryan Kohberger. Granted, 5 years after the crime, 6 weeks after
Yeah.
the crime for Kohberger, but still a month apart. To see how all of that unfolded in the meantime, one trial is completely over and done. All the things that happened there compared to all the things going on here, we did we know we would be sitting here with these two cases this far into the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feeling the way we did about Delphi, feeling the way some people do with this case. Do I think they got an airtight case with Kohberger? No, I don't see it, because I feel like, as far as what we've seen, we have a sheath with his DNA on it, that I don't buy any of these other ways of theories of getting there, other than he left it there.
Yeah.
That's all they got
Yeah.
that I
But
know of.
that's already more than they had on Richard Allen, and he's going to prison for 130 years
Yeah.
pending appeal. They didn't have any DNA that tied him to the scene of the crime. They had none.
All they had was the unspent bullet that they said was fired from his gun. We don't have a gun or a weapon, period, in this case yet. We don't have a weapon that we know of.
Yeah, they never found the knife.
Well, there's an interesting area that, um, confirmed, unconfirmed, was searched. So there was an interview a while back with the Gonzalez family, and you have to, if you watched any of their interviews, you learn the way they talk. And what I mean by that is the way they speak, their mannerisms, the way they break up their words, their sentences, the way they stop, start, and just the way they talk. You have to understand them, right? And I kind of do, because I've watched a lot of their interviews. So there was a particular one where Christy Gonzalez is talking about not being informed by investigators of every single little thing going on in the case. And she alludes to something about that happened like over in the summer, when they said, "Oh, hey, we're going to search the Low Mountains." I stopped and I was like, what did she say? And I listened again, and she said it again. So go search the Low Mountains. I'm like, what the hell? Low Mountains are in Montana, right across the Idaho-Montana line.
Oh.
Like
Right, but
right,
that's
right
on the other
there.
side of this. That's on the other side of the state, though, right? Because
Well, okay, well,
Boise,
when you come
Idaho
out, yeah.
University is on the west side, right?
So you come out like this, for instance, if you follow the route they claim Kohberger took out of the city back toward Blaine, and then there's an area with Johnson Bar campground area. All this is wooded, mountainous region all the way back toward Montana. So back going that way, I could pull up the map and show you, because I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what was said in the interview. So then there's another creator that allegedly has spoken to the families, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve that. So one of my questions was, because that was brought up on their channel, and I said, can they confirm that that happened, that they were told that? And I was told yes. So did they conduct that search there? I'm gonna try to
Whoa.
find that video real quick on
Yeah, I've
my.
never heard that. That's pretty
Let
interesting.
me see if I can pull that up real quick on my YouTube channel.
How long are you with us tonight? Today? Tonight? Jeez.
Tonight,
11
Jim,
o'clock. Yes, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and I feel like
um,
I feel like it's 11 o'clock at night.
we've been on like an
How long
hour.
you hanging in, Steve?
Yeah, I'm good to hang in for a little while here. I'm at
Okay.
1:09 p.m. where I'm at. But yeah, I'm good to chill for a bit.
Yeah, let's go for like another half hour or so. For now.
I'm wearing my Purdue
Whoops.
Boilermakers trucker hat because you're always wearing cool hats, so I got to put
Uh-oh.
one on today.
Dude, this
Uh-oh.
is what I got for Christmas. I love this one.
I
Oh, nice.
really? Okay, cool. Because I notice his hats as well.
And I noticed that was a new one. I noticed.
Yeah,
it.
Dan got this for me for my not for my birthday, for Christmas, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude!" Like,
Nice.
yeah, it really it blew me away. I love it, man. So yeah, I had to retire a few of the old beer ones for this one now.
Nice.
Okay, let me look for this.
Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. Anybody in the chat that's not following Publicly Buzz, please do so.
Yep. I put a link up earlier. I can drop a new one in there now. Goodness.
We'd appreciate it. Give us a shot.
Yes,
we're a
please
little bit weird, a little bit different for sure. It's,
No,
there's a little
you
bit
guys are great.
Well, there's a lot of comedy that comes through.
And I love that because I'm always down for a good laugh. And especially with this, the true crime gets a little heavy. Some of the cases get heavy, all the things. And so it's we always, get a laugh in. We can't help it. So it's always fun. I am bad about the self-promotion and reminding everybody to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. But I did drop links.
Dude,
Joe's dropping the links
way to
for us
do it.
now.
I mean,
yeah.
The people get embarrassed, and some people kind of poo-poo that. Dude, I've always done that. Like, I'm always plugging shit. I'm always saying what's going on, trying to get people involved, and it works, I think, honestly.
Yeah, well, I love reading the chat too and interacting with the chat and commentating. It's what it's all about, right? To me, community, discussing true crime with each other, and they are that. They are each other,
Yeah, everybody, like, the chat's what makes it, honestly.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And this fringe community, like with for me, it started with Defense Diaries. That's why I started following you, Steve. And I don't remember how Salty and I met, but
Delphi
like
case.
Jay,
I forgot whose stream we were in.
Yep, Bob and Jay and like the chat in this community that's like fringe Defense Diaries is really
100%, dude. Yeah. I 100% agree, because we have a lot of spillover from folks that, because we all kind of have been hanging out for so long now. And dude, that Bob's been awesome. And so he won on my will, like, I think Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
What? No way.
He's won 2 wills now. Yeah, I'm about to send him a shirt.
He got a shirt. He won a shirt. And I remember when you would host with Bob and with Jay, and doing different things. That was a lot on Twitter as well, is when I got to know the guys and Bob as well. And just through my interactions with Twitter on them, and then watching the YouTube stuff grow.
I think Bob's a damn cheater. T-shirts.
Between Bob and Gypsy, there, because she's been
Gypsy's one too. Also, what's funny was I was also wearing a Defense Diaries shirt when it happened, so that looked even worse.
No way.
The guy that won, I'm repping his brand.
Can't make that up. You can't.
Yeah, Mara first saw Bob on Publicly Buzz in the chat. That's awesome.
That is.
Yeah, Jay and me were hosting him before we really started getting really super rolling. And yeah, dude, I always knew Bob was going to take off and be one of the big channels.
Yeah, he's a real dude. He's for real. I've met him twice in Delphi, and to be honest, he looked a little lost, but he was trying to get into court. He was trying to figure out how to get into the courtroom.
He's been super kind and cool to us.
Him and Allie are great. To me, they don't come off as some big defense attorneys. They come off as very down-to-earth people.
I said this the other day on X, and he commented, but I was basically actually kind of referencing sort of the stuff we've been already talking about. Is there anybody that's going in to any of these cases not on a side, and he kind of commented and says that he tries to do that as well. And being a defense attorney, because a lot of the defense attorneys on YouTube always are on the defense side, or only pick cases where they're going to be on that side. Bob will go into a case and sometimes not be on the defense side, or be more he's just honest about it in a lot of ways.
Right.
And I love that dude because, and I'm not saying some of these other defense attorneys on YouTube probably pick cases that they already know that they're going to be on this side, so they don't have to be nefarious with their opinion or whatever. But, Bob is being honest, at least from what I've seen out the gate. And there's been times in some cases where he's like calling the bullshit on the defense. I'm like, that's awesome. Like,
well, he's the reason that I started changing my opinion, or at least opening my mind to the fact that Richard Allen might not be guilty. Because when they first arrested him, I'm like, sweet, they got the dude, they got the guy.
Right.
And then Bob started having some podcasts that I knew about because of his John Wayne Gacy podcast. So it trickled over from that, where he's like, hey, this may not be the guy. He may not be guilty. And listening just to the facts, and that's what he presented, was the facts and the law. And I'm like, holy shit,
dude. Yeah, I like the way
Richard Allen may not be guilty. The jury has found him guilty, but but there's appeals.
You know what? I can't find my video of maybe it's on my TikTok instead, but I'll have to find it and put it back out there. But I did find one here that's, I don't know, it might not, to me it's funny. I don't care. If it's not, if it's snarky, it's snarky. I don't care. I'm gonna play it for you guys. Hang on.
I do snark.
She's calling out true crime.
I'm calling out somebody. I can't help it, because if she's watching, it's all good. My name is Salty. I can't help it, especially where she's concerned. Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Lord.
Oh my gosh.
It says true crime time, and I want to answer it before you do, Kim. It says you made a lot of accusations, Kim, that you stated were fact. Do you understand the impact you had on the true crime community? Now, when Kim came out on our channel, she explained the stuff that she had heard was stuff that were told to her and from her daughter. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. That the stuff wasn't coming directly from anybody. She said it multiple times, even right now. I hope I'm wrong. To me, and if you can, I'll unprivate them so you guys can go there if I want to. And to me, everything that she had said was
still on private,
by the way. What we did on my show is we only put out the stuff that she was told, right? So you came out and you told us that your daughter had called you, or that you had spoke with her, and she said a certain time and this, that, and third. That's the stuff we put out there. The other stuff we didn't. Now, is it Kim's fault? Is it your fault, Kim, if you go on another channel and the channel asks you, what do you think happened? And you answer what your thought was. Is it your fault to give your opinion on something when somebody is asking that opinion, or is it the fault of the creator for asking you your opinion and going down that rabbit hole with you?
This guy needs to improve his interview skills.
Just saying. We're probably consuming a little bit too much alcohol, but but
I still will reach out to you when something goes down.
Yeah,
you're the first person I text. You know that. yeah. I think that was a show with myself, yourself, and Lena from TNT, and that one ended abruptly. Right. Yeah, that one was a good one. Right. But yeah, we went down the rabbit hole in that situation.
That's funny. Yeah,
he needs to improve his interview skills. Just
oh my goodness.
I'm a complete amateur and I can do 50% better than he did.
Yeah, well, he didn't let Kim answer for herself. There was reasons why we control Kim. But there you go.
Yeah, she's known to go off on a tangent now.
Isn't she? She could go off and it could spend hours trying to get her to come back. Like, that's the whole, if you're going to interview Kim, you got,
many hours.
If you're going to interview Kim, you got to be able to control that woman. The only one that came close was Melissa Jade. I don't know. That was a long stream. And like I said, it was accidental that Kim came up because she insisted. So we're like, fine, Melissa, let her come, and Melissa let her go. And that's all it took. But Melissa was able to nail her down each time. Wait, go back to this, Kim. Verify this that you just said,
that's probably pretty smart. Yeah,
and they were able to, and then they were able to finally get all the receipts together and put back all the Facebook comments and how her story grew taller on down the line. All of it was exposed, and people know it. But there are people out there who still feed off of those old rumors, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, some there's a lot of bullshit that's come down the pike that somebody didn't figure out was bullshit, and they still, that's still part of their narrative or what they believe.
And I, like I said, I even have a whole alternate scenario laid out in a DM on Twitter. I get the most peculiar DMs on my TikTok account. I have to clarify I had to clarify something so simple the other day, is the initials of who's this, and this under these protective orders that were just extended. Well, that was Madison Mogen's biological mother and stepfather's initials. They were in there on the first round, and the other initials were Xana's biological father and sister. Those people were like, scrambling. Who are these initials for? Well, take your time and do your research here. This is who they are. Like, okay, thank you. It's like, calm down, everybody. It's just some initials,
Yeah,
and they're just extending an order that was already there. It's not that important.
Yeah, I do see a lot of content getting created out of literally nothing, like just weird wordplay, or like they read it wrong, or that happens a lot. And I used to kind of like go at those stuff. I don't really go at anything anymore like that. I'll put up, like those posts that I make, I'll just kind of, it's almost just like a general something about the case, and I want an opinion, right? So I can get conversation started. But like, like I can't just like dive. I try not to. It still fucking will happen, but like I try not to just get in these endless fucking.
It's such a decision. It's such a decision in the moment, though. Like I posted on Twitter a factual statement that the Westville Correctional Facility in Indiana was sued and lost because they kept a prisoner in solitary confinement for 4 years. That's it.
Yeah.
Factual. It's a fact. And the bullshit that people post on there, that trolls post on there, they get in there and like, it had nothing to do with Richard Allen. It's about the Westville Correctional Facility. And I have more to talk about that, by the way.
That's a good angle on that, actually, to get deeper into that facility there.
Yes. Yeah. I have more. There was an audit that was done by the Department of Justice in 2019, and I'm going to be posting some of that shit.
And that's really smart because it's interesting. Yeah. Because like, we're not hearing anything extra about that place, right? Like,
we're not.
I'd like to know a little bit more. What the fuck is the norm there? It's going to be hard, but man, that's interesting. They were cited by the auditors for violations, for multiple violations. And like, there's so many violations that I'm not going to be able to put it in one tweet. It's going to have to be spread out like through a thread. And I'm not really good at threads, but it's there. Like, the audit is a factual audit that was done by the Department of Justice and a third-party contractor, and it's there. Like, the facts are there. But I just posted that one thing, about the one prisoner that was held in solitary for 4 years, and the people just come at you on social media. Yeah.
Like,
every
they don't even care. They don't care about the facts.
Dissension, amongst, but like different opinions. It's really what I want. I want to see all the different opinions, but it's the people that can't get away from it's you got to have the last word, or like,
yes.
I don't know. It always falls back down into chaos almost every time.
It's like they have no logical argument to bring to the table to argue with me about it, or argue against me, or whatever. And so I don't have time for it. It's like, that's going to be silly. And if I'm going to engage, it's going to be even sillier. And they're going to get mad and block and all these
Yeah, and
ridiculous things are going to happen.
It's hard, but I have gotten better at like just trying to just back off that because, the further you engage, the more they're going to engage, and
that's true. And no matter what I say is going to change their mind, because I'm not out to change a mind.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm out to have a dialogue, maybe in a conversation, but nothing I say is going to change them, and they're not going to do change me by anything they say. So what is the whole point? So I guess I've learned to let people be in a lot of ways, in a lot of cases, you know what I mean? And I comment back on certain things after a while. Sometimes I'll go to comment and I'll think, nah, better wait until I better wait until I've sat with that for a minute and make sure that come out wrong.
If you could count the number of backspaces on my phone.
Oh, dude, yeah, I've done that many times. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to do that. Actually, I'm getting better at that. Actually, which is hard, good, right? Dude. It's hard. It is hard. Every once in a while something will still slip out, but man, I've gotten a lot better. Oh yeah, because the one thing that's kind of making me think that is the troll aspect of like people that they won't stop. You know what I mean? When the engagement only helps them. And dude, you know what? Also, one of the things when people, because there's so many folks out here that aren't in this chat that are watching, or even on X, right? They're lurking, they're watching, they're seeing how you're interacting, and dude, all of that matters. If you leave a logical statement underneath some craziness, and they come back with something even crazier, they're seeing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you keep fighting them, they're going to also see that. So that's one of the things that's kind of made me realize, like, just say your piece. Yeah, and that's your piece.
They're doing it for attention.
You're not going to change. You know what I mean?
They're doing it for attention. Don't give them the attention.
There's a lot of that.
Woman ain't lying, right? We all know Sleuthy. Most of us here know Sleuthy well. I know Steve does as well. Yeah. She is the queen of not responding to
the. That is the best.
But when she does respond, they don't get any better than a sleuthy response.
That's the best way to respond. Factual info, whatever you're. Like
exactly.
Don't get into the name calling. Like that's what sucks.
Yes, she's coming back with some damn knowledge, so bring it.
She does. Yeah, so, she does have a good way of doing it.
But you're right. The people will see that engagement, and it's okay to be yourself and to say what you're, because I don't want people to ever stop us from what we're thinking and saying what we want to say, but do it in a responsible way, because I don't care what you say, mainstream media, social media, we still have a responsibility. If we are going to claim ourselves as media of some sort, there's still some level of responsibility in what you do, but at the same time you need to be human, because I think that's the connection with social media, right? They connect with you and think like you, and all of those things come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. When you start building a crew, man. Phil in the chat there, Tayo Toys, I'm starting a new channel called True Crime Trolls, and it's a panel of all trolls. I would still watch that.
Wow. I want to be on that.
That's funny, dude.
Well, a woman's like, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
going to be so much fun.
And it's okay to have the people who you disagree with in the chats and the communities, and have conversations about that. But when they start the attacking, it was real nasty in Idaho for a minute there.
Oh, dude, it gets gross.
The community I was a part of really supported Kim, like heavily supported Kim. And that's all they did for months was entertain Kim.
Dude,
and when I began and so when I'm asking questions, then I was seen as attacking Kim.
So dude. Yeah.
They attacked me.
I've seen a lot of that.
And I'm like, I'm not putting up with that from the well, I'm not gonna say what I said.
It's like
I'm not putting up with that,
I know exactly what you mean though.
And it was ridiculous. It's like, and finally Jules, Jules of all trades,
she's awesome
girl. Luckily, fortunately, because she's got a voice and people will listen, she came out and it was like Kim's bullshit and called her out. And then there were people that supported Jules that I saw now attack Jules.
Yeah, they'll change up on you, man. I'm a big pro wrestling fan and have a wrestling channel. If anybody watches wrestling, you know how like they flip all the time between good guy and bad guy.
Oh yeah,
that happens in true crime all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Bless her heart, Jules tried like hell because she tried to show them that aspect there, and with Kim,
she turned into a bad guy right there for the crowd, right? Because the crowd's like,
no,
not our Kim. Not our Kim, no.
Well, true Idaho's Jules, let's see, Jules's community, Jules' growing community. I think that core community was still there to support her.
Yeah, she's got a good
small
base.
Kim community, right? There was that small Kim community that didn't, but she was like, whatever, I'm standing my ground. This is how I feel.
That's why I've always liked her. I've always, we don't agree on everything either, dude. We and her,
right,
like many times, but dude, she's cool because she that's it is what it is. Like I've always respected her.
She goes hard for what she believes, right?
She does, man.
And I do watch Jules' videos. And I don't watch all of them, but I do, because I was around her during, Dago and Idaho 4 stuff early on, just like you were.
Yeah. I used to hang out in Dago's a lot, man.
You would talk to her, I know, in the past. And so I've always had respect for Jules. So Jules is not for everybody, it's a personal taste, whatever. But her videos are cool. She makes good points.
She does a lot of
things to think about, right?
A lot of diving, man. She looks into that stuff.
Oh yeah. So I always check her stuff out. But she came out and spoken her part, her thoughts on Kim, and then just like when they did the leaked Linda Lane footage, and people were seeing this bizarre shit going down with the truck in the parking lot and the shadows, and we see Dylan running and we see the dog, and they like for a week straight focused on this stuff and not one time looked at that light colored sedan circling its prey over there, not one single time. And finally Jules came out and was like, look, you guys have spent like a week and a half on this stupid video where absolutely nothing is going on.
I do remember that, actually.
Right? I was like, finally.
I did a stream on that too, and I think it basically we came to the same conclusion at the end. We're like, what else can you do with this?
I mean, I think that's when you were starting to, when we were realizing this is getting crazy, right?
Yeah, and then you're realizing
nothing.
Yeah, people, and then where it was hot, or for lack of a better term, it was going viral, and everyone everyone was making it like an angle from it. Like, did I see? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
You see it? Did you hear that? Look, Joe,
they must listen. I'm gonna rewind it. Hold on.
They had those special headphones, Joe, that they had over there.
Tony Liggett's
they had Liggett headphones where you could hear this stuff that you weren't going to hear otherwise. You had to be listening to it the way they were listening to it, and get that same experience to hear the same thing.
They would change the saturation of the video and so
how
something would look a little different.
How did the jury in Delphi not request the special headphones that heard what Tony Liggett heard on the enhanced video? How did they not request it? They requested shit. They didn't request those special headphones.
That would have been important.
Then it comes down to, if you set aside all of the theories that were brought to the table with the Idaho 4 case, and there were many, the Kim stuff, the frat stuff, that side of it, the cryptocurrency stuff that was, theory that was there. There's a lot of theories out there. But if you take all of that, so many. If you take all of them off the table, you still got one guy, this Kohberger guy, and that's his DNA on that sheath.
Yeah, man.
We know that early on in the investigation, Ann already looked into the training of the officers who found the sheath, collected the sheath, the chain of custody on the evidence itself. All those things were the first things that she looked at in this case and got on the record. She got those records very, very early on. And then there was the Brady Giglio stuff that was filed.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was a big deal. Everybody was going through that. What does it mean? Who does it mean? What officers are involved in all the things. I think Sleuthy came closest. She did a great video It was about a state police officer, but he was not directly involved with the episode that got somebody into trouble. It's a longer story.
Yeah, I can't remember the details now either on that part.
Yeah,
I
do
just
you
kind of,
remember
but
what
I
I'm
remember
talking
making some
about?
content of it. Like I know I
Yeah,
got videos on it. Was
I
what's
know,
crazy.
right? You
Like that
got
shit slips out of my brain.
There's some of that
But it's been
stuff
like 2
was
years now. Like it's
yeah.
been a while
And
now.
do you remember that back when so Dana, was it Smithers, went missing in Pennsylvania, I forget what year it was, 2019. But anyway, after Kohberger was arrested for the murders in Idaho, at one point his parents were allegedly called to testify before a
I do
grand
remember
jury
that.
in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Okay, so this is a grand jury in Pennsylvania, his home state, and his parents were called to testify. And like, what is this about? And of course, it's been tight-lipped. Nobody knows. Hasn't been confirmed anywhere. But according to media reports, it was a grand jury investigation into the death of Dana, who was from Strasburg, Pennsylvania, which is right there where Bryan Kohberger lived at the time. And in a Facebook group about finding Dana, there was talk about her and him working at the mall at a specific point in time. And she was into the same types of drugs that he was into. Let's just put it that way. And she was. She was struggling with abuse herself. But the last time Dana was seen, she left her sister's, was it her sister's house or her best friend's house? And they had a Ring camera. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. And you can see her walk out the front door with her phone in her hand and out to the front of the yard toward the street. And then it's dark. And then you see her no more after that. And that is the last time Dana was ever seen. And then she was found up, like, I think it was like a year later, they finally found Dana. But was that, grand jury held in her investigation? And did they actively investigate him, I guess?
Yeah, I remember that point of time when they were investigating, I guess, that situation. But yeah, I didn't know that those details right there. Or I'd either forgotten. Because that's interesting. But I do remember that and being like, oh shit, they're looking into other cases with the possibility of him being,
Yeah, and
implicated.
Dana's disappearance and death would have occurred while he was still living in Pennsylvania before he ever moved over to Idaho, or to Washington State, to go to school and teach there. So yeah, but I'm not saying this is theory only. I need to put up some kind of warning for somebody gets sideways with me.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
have
easy
any
to clip stuff like
mods.
that too, and like, oh, but yeah,
This is theory.
it's just a possibility.
Yeah, these are theories and all that good stuff here.
So you said he went out. So he went out to Washington State to teach. Talk a little bit about that, like about what position that he was going out there for.
Well, he had already graduated over in Pennsylvania at like DeSales, right? He did the community college out there, and he got psychology. He did DeSales University, got PhD there, and then he was recommended to go over to Washington State to go to their criminology course there, and further his education there. And
so what was he doing there? What was he doing?
He was enrolled in school, and part of that was a teacher's assistant's job. It went hand in hand, right?
Right, TA. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So he was a TA and a student for criminology. And it's been said now that he had trouble in his position as a TA. And there was some things said or done. Some emails were exchanged. And at one point, I think he was actually being fired from his position, which would have been a huge deal because he's required to have that position to get the schooling that he's attending, right? As part of that school package. So it was going to be a huge deal. And we know that he had gotten turned down for the Pullman, Washington position at the police department, wanting to teach them how to better collect their forensic data in small towns. Was the bulk of his defense forensic data? That's not something I made up. You can't deny that stuff's there, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything. I don't know. You always have to reiterate that. But yeah, it's interesting to me.
Yeah, the entire like concept of like what he was actually going to school for and the
Hmm.
crimes that were committed. Like
You can't avoid that conversation,
very
right?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it came a point in time where like you can't talk bad about that defendant. I'm not, but I talk about all the other defendants that we talk about in true crime.
Yeah, I
We
think
look
that it should be open, ball
everybody's
game.
So
if you do it fairly. If we talk about what we know
100%.
is there, we're not purposely doxing and digging and throwing stuff out there that may or may not even be true. I'm not trying to do all that. But a lot of these cases don't need the extra drama, right? They have enough in their own sense, like Delphi
Yeah.
with the alternate theory and suspects there that were legit, and the concerns
and
out
we're
of this
never allowed
case.
in court, and we're never
Yeah,
allowed in
the whole
court.
package was Delphi. I mean, there's no escaping that. You can't even know the way to sum that up anymore. It was the entire package of everything wrong, right, with a case. It's crazy.
Mm.
And I
So
don't.
why did his dad have to fly out to drive back with him and get stopped twice in Indiana?
So we don't know exactly why, but it was apparently a planned trip already. When they planned it, I don't know. Like, was it a last minute plan? Had it been on the books for about the month, because it was the holidays coming up? We're not really sure what prompted that. If it was just, why would he not just fly out there alone?
Right. Yeah. Why would he not drive back
Spend
alone?
time for the holidays and then fly back?
I could drive across the country alone. I have a couple times or more. So that
Mhm.
makes no sense. Why does he need his dad to fly out from Pennsylvania to Spokane and then drive back together? That makes no
Okay, did
sense
he
to
have a
me.
thing about flying? Like, I don't want to fly. My sister and I had a conversation yesterday. I tried to tell her it's not going to happen, but yeah, she's okay with it. I am not. But anyway, did he have a thing about not flying? Is that why he had to drive? Or I don't know. I honestly don't know.
We may
I was
never.
looking at the chat again. Phil was like, they stopped him once for tailgating. What a loser.
Twice for tailgating.
Was it both times? Okay.
Both times.
I didn't know they were both for tailgating.
Pretty much, yes. I think one involved speeding a little bit, but they were both the tailgating situation.
Yeah.
And then we also knew we had the Pullman stop over there with the lady cop where he was in the intersection.
I remember that one, yeah.
Where he questioned, the law there. So was he just a bad driver? I'm going to do it my way, BK, or
Yeah, don't fuck with those Indiana State troopers. They're gonna pull you over.
minutes.
You didn't
they
get very
pulled him
far with
over.
her. She was basically like, listen, bitch.
So we were wondering, we had a conversation, was, or is it, because I think the document we read last night talks about them honing in on the parents' house and watching the parents' home, and they were tracking him and they could see him go room to room. So were they following him from, Idaho all the way to Pennsylvania was always a thought. Were those stops planned? We had heard back in the ABC News piece they had fixed-winged aircraft following him at one point. Was all that
I
before?
don't remember that one. Shit.
I'm telling you right now, if you want to follow a quadruple murder suspect, you don't enlist Indiana police officers.
Weird. Delphi, Indiana State Police.
They were actually really near there at one
ISP.
point.
Doug Carter's the boss.
No,
Jesus
that's a bad
Christ.
idea. That's a bad idea. They're gonna fuck it up. Oops,
Well, they
I
did.
just said the upper.
They stopped him, and both times got it on body
Oh.
cam and audio. So at least we had that. His rights were protected. We can see that he wasn't messed with. So a good thing that happened. Otherwise, there would be something probably said.
Damn it! You made me drop the F-bomb already. Like it's only January 5th, and I dropped it already.
Right now, they're showing that she wants to suppress his statements that were made once he was arrested over there in Pennsylvania. I wonder what those statements
Whoa.
were.
Why? Interesting.
Let's see. Let me pull that one up.
That can't be good.
Let me look at that one.
Judge, I really need you to just pretend he didn't say
So-
this right here. I just need you to pretend real hard.
Right.
No one should see that. No one
That's
needs to
exactly
see-
my thoughts because didn't we hear early on things like the one attorney that came out in Pennsylvania that said that Bryan said he couldn't wait to be exonerated,
Right. I
and
do
then
remember
we
that.
also heard that was anybody else arrested?
I do remember that. I don't remember if that ended up being true, but I do remember that.
Right, exactly. I can't remember those being verified, but that's what the two things that we did hear about any kind of statements that were made, right? All right, so that would be, let me get to the motions to suppress real quick. I still haven't went through all of the motions the way we need to, 'cause there's a lot. Here we go, statements, motion to suppress. Okay, let me pull this back up. Make sure.
Steve's just going to say it's awesome hanging out with you, bro.
Oh, Joe, no, this has been awesome. Yeah, appreciate y'all bringing me on here.
Oh yeah, this was a great idea for sure. We appreciate it. Okay.
I have all kinds of good ideas. You should hear more of them. A lot of them take a lot of work.
Uh-oh.
Wah.
That meant my kid's phone is dying.
That was like a Nintendo 64 sound effect right there.
I could send him a little notification. It'll say, charge your phone.
On a Nintendo 64?
No, on our phone. Okay. Well, I can't see the whole thing. Hold on, let me fix this.
Mario and Luigi, though, on Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that
Those
was
were
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Those were
Dude,
good
64
times.
is my favorite
Those
console.
were good times.
I love 64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my buddies used to go rent one from Videoland for
Me
the
fix
weekend,
this.
and we would just stay up all weekend long playing that.
Dude, yeah. That was one of the only consoles me and Dan were lucky enough to get on Christmas that year.
Oh, no way.
Like,
You got one for Christmas?
Yeah, like it never happened again. That was the only one that was like, oh, sweet. And the one thing about it is, I remember we got Turok. We both had Turok the game, which was fun. But our thing, where you just mentioned renting the console, we would basically every weekend, because those things were expensive, and you're a child. So we'd go and get the rent, every Saturday we'd go and rent a game or two, and just spend the entire day and night playing it.
Yes. We did all weekend. Like literally we would get like 6 hours of sleep over
man, couldn't stop.
72-hour period. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved renting old games. Yeah, I still have my original 64 and it works.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
And most of the games.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. And I have an N64 emulator on this computer here in front of me with a bunch of games. But I don't play it too often. I don't have time, but dude, I love 64.
Right. I may have to look into that though.
Dude, yeah, you could get it on your computer.
You just piqued my interest.
You could use like an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller.
I may have one or two of those. I may have one or two.
That'll hook right into your PC.
Yep.
So they have an original Duck Hunt, CH says. Duck Hunt. You guys remember that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Duck Hunt. Yes.
Dude,
damn. I sucked at Duck Hunt. Like I couldn't win that game to save my life.
Yeah, man. That gun was hard to figure out.
Yeah, that gun was nasty.
Unless you were right up on it,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that duck. That excuse me. That gun was a little wacky. I was like, nah. No. Frogger. What's the name of that Frogger? Where you just jump
Frogger.
Frogger.
Yes. Don't get me started on Frogger. That was Atari.
All right.
That wasn't
Yeah, Atari.
N64. That
That's
was
true. That's
Atari.
Atari. I'm going back even to Atari.
Yeah.
Stupid little tennis game with two little slats on the side.
Yeah, that one
I
was
got in
fun.
trouble.
Bing, bing, back and forth. Okay. So that's way back now. So anyway, this one was a motion to suppress and the memorandum in support of, and it's for the Pennsylvania search warrant for 119 Lambston Drive, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, which is the parents' home, and statements made. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger, and through his attorneys of record submit the following memorandum in support of his contemporaneously filed motion for an order suppressing all evidence gathered by law enforcement as a result of the entry into and search of Mr. Kohberger's parents' home, including statements made after his arrest.
That's not going to happen.
The motion and documents in support of Franks versus Delaware hearing are hereby incorporated into this memorandum. So they're using parts of that Franks motion in here. The proffer with supportive documentation regarding Franks are filed under seal. For that reason, they are not set forth in full detail here, but instead are incorporated. And they go through their list of the issues. Exclusionary, they cite the exclusionary rule and law to search. Kohberger has standing to challenge the search of his parents' home. They violated his Fourth Amendment rights by entering and searching his parents' home without a valid local warrant. The Idaho arrest warrant could not have given police in Pennsylvania the authority to enter the home.
That's interesting.
The Idaho arrest warrant could not have given police in Pennsylvania the authority to enter the home.
If they didn't have a Pennsylvania search warrant, that could lead to some issues here.
Well, was it? Yeah, because was it federal, local? What are we doing here? Federal and Pennsylvania law enforcement violated Kohberger's Idaho and Pennsylvania constitutional rights by knocking and announcing. They violated rights by not knocking and announcing their presence.
If the FBI is on scene and you do have federal agents, does that override the state's?
Yeah, right. I wonder.
Huh.
Kohberger with the opportunity to surrender. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant recklessly or intentionally omitted material information. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant included information that must be excised. All information in the affidavit was gathered because of law enforcement's unconstitutional use of investigative genetic genealogy, and thus nothing in the warrant should remain. There we go again, using that is unconstitutional use of investigational. That's at the investigative genetic genealogy. So what are the limits to that investigative part?
Yeah, that's where they're saying that they've overstepped their bounds, and but they've still found their guy because of that, and that goes back to what I was saying with the Gacy thing, like
exactly.
But I mean, dude, the one thing I have the question about the federal state Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah, I asked that question a long time ago as well. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, we know the FBI and agencies of that nature have their ways of doing things that we don't know about, right? Do we need to know all of it? Should we know all of it? That kind of thing. Do we need to know? In some of these cases, these criminal cases, like you said, when they have the bad guy, doesn't matter. They got the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the gray area, right? It does matter, but it doesn't matter at the same time. There's a boundary, that they can't overstep. And what is that boundary in some cases? Is it so black and white, or super gray where we can't figure out a way?
Yeah, this is a very intriguing case because I'm up in the air on so many things, and like I can, like sometimes I lean one way or the other because of some of this information. But like, yeah, dude, I can't wait to see it actually get battled out, in actual trial, because the motion stuff is really interesting, but there's so much hidden still from us in this case. Like,
so much.
So I don't know, man. It's impossible to.
It really is
to have a hardcore opinion. I think
right, to get locked into one way or the other and say you've seen enough to say this or that when we've seen nothing.
Dude,
but
yeah.
That all we do know is this knife sheath exists at the crime scene with what they say is his DNA.
Yeah,
we know
and
that.
linking
That's
him
cause. We know there's videos cited in this.
I know, yeah. I always come back to that too, and I'm talking to folks like we don't know what we could see them link time frames with video footage getting to this location. Like,
how clear was that footage?
Dude,
we were talking about that last night. Joe was a little surprised.
All that's going to add up in the jurors' minds.
Yeah, we don't have, as far as we know, we don't have anything showing his license plate, right?
Yeah, not that I know of. Yeah,
nothing that we know of, and it's not cited in any of the documents, not the PCA, nothing. Even Anne has come out now and doing her motions to suppress now, but we've already heard her say in past court hearings that wasn't his car. It was seen going this way, and then we're going to be able to prove it. This was another thing too, though. They were going to use the state's cast data and all of that phone data to prove their client's alibi of out riding around looking at the moon and the stars.
Yeah. And when we get down to the nitty-gritty of that, it's going to be interesting because, they
want that suppressed now. They want the phone stuff, the first AT&T warrant, second AT&T warrant, we want it suppressed. We want these things suppressed. Well, why?
We have to see something. Like, you can't suppress every element of this case.
Well, then you can't prove your alibi if you were going to use that.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's already a shitty alibi, but now
right. So you have to admit that was, I don't care who you are, you have to admit that was a shitty alibi.
To amp it up as an alibi is crazy.
But it's kind of like Delphi, because the Delphi third suspect thing was we couldn't definitively tie any of the third-party suspects to the scene of the crime. Patrick Westfall, Brad Weber, Elvis Fields. We couldn't definitively tie them to the scene of the crime, so they were quote-unquote cleared as suspects. And then all of a sudden there was that thing that happened with the FBI in 2019.
And I'm assuming that the DNA they collected from those other guys didn't match whatever very little DNA they tested in Delphi. So no, they didn't test.
You're what? You're assuming.
Yeah, that's what I said. We know they didn't test
exactly.
all that DNA.
Is police work, is forensic police work assuming? No.
Let's Delphi for you. Like I said, they didn't even test all the DNA they did have in the case to start with.
Nope.
And when you
not the hair in her hand. They didn't even DNA test the hair in her hand.
I'm sorry, the hair in her hand was huge, and so is spit on the girls. And then I have to go to sticks, large sticks, 3,
right,
to be exact, 4. Then did spit land on a stick instead of a body, and did that stick get left out there for 2.5 weeks before somebody said, you know what, maybe we should go back and get those sticks? Now, if that did happen and the spit got there versus a body, did it lay out there for 2.5 weeks in the elements?
Did it get picked up out of a scoop of dirt? Good grief.
And at least we don't have that at least we don't have that in Idaho, and we don't have blood being scooped up out of the snow in a red Solo cup. Right? Didn't that happen with the Karen Reed case, Steve? Right?
Yes. Yeah, red Solo cups.
Yeah.
Red Solo cup, I lift you up. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I guess they did try to over there. I don't know. But so far, Anne did get like I said, she pulled the records of the people involved in discovering that sheath and all the things that went into fact, to effect once they found it, the chain of command and all that, all the good stuff. If she can find a weakness there, she's going to go with that, And so far, she hasn't went with anything else on it yet. That was a long time ago when she pursued that avenue, I don't know. Did she find something she can definitely bring up in court and that part's done? Absolutely, she could. Could it be something small? Yes. Could it be large? Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could it build toward the evidence, shitty investigation kind of thing, if you will? Did they get sloppy in the investigation? Were there any recorded over interviews here? Things like that,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy, but I think it's very different. But so the facts of the case, according to the defense, are statements after arrest are either fruit of the poisonous tree from the illegal arrest or should be suppressed as Miranda violation. And they say, due to the haphazard way in which law enforcement has kept and disclosed records in this matter, the following are facts relating to obtaining the search warrant of
Wait,
one
hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Miranda violation? Did he not get read his Miranda rights? Am I hearing that right?
So that's what they are citing as one of
Holy shit, that's huge. That's huge.
Crazy.
That may be the biggest thing in this case. If they didn't read him his Miranda rights, oh my God. Like everything after that is fruit of the poisonous tree.
I thought
like
that
everything
brought up here earlier. I have to go back in there.
Damn.
Issues.
Why would you not do that? How could you not? If you're a police officer, right? How do you not do that?
Jesus, it's like basic. It's like the basics of your case.
It's number one. It's not like even number two, number three, number four. That's like the number one thing that you do. Shit.
Okay. So let's see if it talks about how they determine that. Due to the haphazard way. Okay, so Chestnut Hill, Lamson Drive in Chestnut. Okay. On December 28th of 2022, Trooper Lee of Pennsylvania State Police became aware of the objective of arresting Mr. Kohberger via the Moscow Police Department, Corporal Payne. On December 29th at 4:44, angel numbers, 4:44, a magistrate in Pennsylvania issued a search warrant for 119 Lambston. In Monroe County, the home of the Kohberger's parents. That's they're calling that exhibit.
What was the King Road address?
112.
Oh my
1122. God. I'm sorry.
So many 111s. So many 111s.
1122. And then a neighbor with the camera, right, facing the intersection was 1112.
Oh damn.
Yeah. The date, November 13th, and all that. It's a lot that goes into that part of it as well.
But we're in Pennsylvania now, right? We're like, he's driven back with his dad. He got stopped in Indiana twice. He wanted Thai food at some small town east of Indianapolis. And he's back in Pennsylvania.
He's back in Pennsylvania. And they're apparently going to be watching. So the 29th, they signed the magistrate in Pennsylvania issued a search warrant for the home of the Kohberger parents. On the 29th, the magistrate in this matter signed the arrest warrant for Kohberger in Latah County. The affidavit was signed by Moscow Police Department Blaker.
I hope he wasn't related to Judge Diener. Just saying.
The basic facts Blaker used to
support that was such a subtle chuckle. Like,
yeah. Like,
okay.
Delphi.
Moving on. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. The similarities between these two cases are crazy, but the differences are also crazy, right?
Yeah. To me, the cases are very different.
Because you know way more about Idaho 4 than I do. So let's keep going. Teach me. Teach me more.
So the basic facts that Blaker laid out to support the search of the Kohberger residence in Pennsylvania, it says next to the body, and this is some of the stuff I guess was taken out of the PCA. Next to the body of Madison Mogan was a tan leather knife sheath. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA on the button snap of the knife sheath. Footage from the King Road neighborhood showed what the police suspected was the vehicle of the killer. See, footage from the King Road neighborhood. That would have to be the 1112 and or Linda Lane that we know of. Anything along Taylor Avenue that we don't know of, that wasn't mentioned in the, you know what I mean? There's different cameras that were mentioned around town. The white sedan lacked a front license plate. A vehicle specialist decided, based on the footage, that the vehicle was a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. A vehicle matching that description was spotted via surveillance in Pullman. It was later discovered that Mr. Kohberger drives a 2015 Hyundai Elantra, and that he lived not far from the last place a white sedan was seen driving in Pullman over an hour later. The same specialist indicated the car seen in Pullman was a 2014 to 2016. Okay. Witness Dylan Mortensen had indicated the height of the person she saw at the time of the attack was between 5'10" and 6 feet, and they had bushy eyebrows. Police determined Mr. Kohberger fit that description. Records from an August 1st, 2022 traffic stop showed Kohberger was the driver of a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates, lacking a front plate. It also showed he had the phone number of, and it lists the phone number. He noted investigators learned this was an AT&T number. Mr. Kohberger had changed his vehicle registration to Washington on November 18th of 2022. Cell tower records did not show Mr. Kohberger was in Moscow at the time of the murders. In law enforcement's experience, however, people committing crimes typically turn off their phones. Historical cell site location information, or CSLI, was obtained and given to Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or the CAST, with the FBI. The team determined that on November 13th...
Wait.
What? Go ahead.
People typically committing crimes turn off their cell phones?
They said that in the PCA.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, their
That's
experience
total bullshit. People committing crimes usually turn off their cell phones.
Or put it into airplane mode was their exact words.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah, so many people fuck up just by their phones.
Exactly.
Kohberger's smarter than that. Come on, he turned that.
Well, I've always said that was my biggest thing that people had was he's really smart and all the things. Yes, I agree. We have a really smart person here. Whether they did it or not, they're smart. Look how far they've gotten in school. Look at the programs they have been accepted into these college programs. They weren't easy peasy to get into. He studied under the best, got the good degrees, and was going further. So a lot of things, he was very smart. And so why would he take that phone?
Right, but just the premise of this legal document that has been filed in a court of law, that you turned off your phone or put it in airplane mode as an indicator of guilt. Bullshit. I don't care if he did it, he did it, and I kind of honestly believe that he probably is guilty, but I don't know. But turning off your cell phone or putting it in airplane mode is not an indicator of guilt. That is a bullshit argument.
Right?
Okay. On its face. Like on its face.
Even because they talk about the times before and after that, right? In there as well. And then that goes offline for those couple of hours. So I guess that's what he suggests. And I'm not, this is like, devil's advocate type thing. I don't know what do you call it? But that's when he suggests, under his training, right, and experience, could tell him that an explanation for that happening could be, and here we go with his determinations. So, uh, but I'm with you. That's an assumption being made. But could it also mean that that's the time he hit the back country where there was no cell phone service?
Well, I'm okay with making an
Stargazing.
assumption. I am 100% okay with making an assumption. We're investigating this guy. We think that he's the one that committed a quadruple homicide. So we checked his phone, and he had his phone in airplane mode. But that's not a legal basis for anything. Like that. No.
Well, it says that the team determined, the FBI cast team, I guess.
Oh, for fuck's sake! This. Why does this give me Delphi PTSD? This gives me
I don't
Delphi
know.
PTSD.
We didn't have the FBI got kicked out in Delphi. Remember, here we got the FBI cast. We got the FBI cast right here. So the team determined that on November 13th of 2022, at approximately 2:42 a.m., Kohberger's phone was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to his apartment in Pullman, Washington. They support the idea that he left his apartment and went south. Then support the phone being off. Then they support at 4:48 a.m. that the phone is south of Moscow near Blaine. That's when that phone came back on. So from 2:42, it was headed toward Moscow, Idaho, a.m., almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And then it goes offline, and it doesn't come back online anywhere until 4:48 a.m., right? So I don't know. What was it doing then if it wasn't, I don't know, stargazing?
Pretty convenient time frame.
Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know, right? I mean, that's crazy. So they got that. That's always been there. We've always known about the phone being off those two. So I got to thinking about that part right there, though. So everybody always said, well, why would he take the phone? Why would he so I asked myself, for real, I'm putting myself in the minds of these monsters. And I'm just not saying Kohberger is the guy, but whoever did that is a monster, right?
Yeah.
So I got to think like that person for a hot minute. Why would the phone? You know what I mean? What's up with all this? So, like, why leave a phone in Delphi in a shoe under a body? That for someone to find it was ridiculous to me. And why would Kohberger take that phone? And I always wondered, was there a reason? Like he knew that phone would be tracked going this way, and then it would be tracked going this way. Well, what's up with this offline stuff? And then we hear about a Faraday bag. Early on in this case, we all looked into these Faraday bags and all this. Then that came up recently in the Delphi trial about how if they want to preserve a phone in a crime investigation, you put it into a Faraday bag. Kind of like criminology 101. We have a criminology student. Was that ever play? And then I brought back those memories of the damn Faraday bags, deep dives everybody was into, right?
Yeah.
Was that used? And it made more sense to me as to why it would have been used. But still, again, why? Because it would have been just as easy to me to leave it beside the bed and say, you know what? I went out for my usual drive because I couldn't sleep. I was gone like 20 minutes into my drive and realized I forgot my damn phone. It was beside the bed. I wasn't going to go back at that point. I'm just going to go drive my usual route and go back.
Yeah. How did my lives go in Delphi when I went along the trail and along the creek?
They came in and out,
Right.
Now, the thing about that is, like, compare, like, going in So if you leave Pullman, Washington, the campus there where he lived, near right there on near his campus, at Washington State, the trip to Moscow, that's well traveled. There's a lot of businesses through there. Two major colleges on either side of that 12-mile section. Lots of connection there. A lot of cameras and all the things. But going the other direction, the countryside, the rural area where it's very spotty, and the alleged route taken on the way out of town back toward Pullman, the long way out toward Blaine here. Yeah, very sketchy. Same thing would have occurred that out there that you experienced over there in Delphi.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's the question: did police investigators check that out, like they should have done in Delphi, like they should have done at Karen Reed? Like, did they check it out thoroughly?
We're going to have to see. They appear, they know about a lot of this stuff now. They even know, well, now he's come out and said that he had liked to go tour or go hang out at Wawawi Park, whatever it was called. And if you go look at where it's at, location wise, it's rural. There's back ways in and out. I've went and looked at all the ways in and out of that park. The different things tied around this park. What's the significance here? Is there, because I always wondered, and I couldn't help but go there, and it wasn't always safe to talk about because you could, oh my God, but what if, say it is him, okay, for a minute, just pretend, and did he leave the phone somewhere knowing it would show that's the last place that phone was for a while, and go do something and then go back and get that phone, and then the phone starts making movement again, right? Because he knew that phone would be tracked, because it was always, why would he take the damn phone? Yeah, why would he? I always felt like it was intentional, but I can't figure out. He's I got to give him, he's a digital criminology forensics data specialist at this point. Maybe he knows something I don't know. I don't know. Or was it a stupid mistake, or not him at all? You know what I mean? I don't know, but a lot of questions and a lot more to unpack and get into with this case, even the backstory where we are now. And I think
God, so much.
Like going back to what you said earlier, like even getting into a video of getting current and caught up with the case. And that's kind of what I want to do going forward with this case, is get everybody up to speed as to where we are and how we got here, and going through the actual stuff that really happened with the case chronologically, like you were saying. So looking at chat here again, I want to thank everybody for coming in. Let me grab the links again and drop those before we go, for Joe and for Steve over at Publicly Buzz here.
Yeah, make sure you come over and sub up.
Yes, do.
Steve, you almost make me want to change my name to Privately Buzzed.
that's
I like it.
that's a good one. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
funny.
Dang, both of you guys know so much about this case, and I learned so much, so I appreciate it. It was an awesome life.
There's just so many levels to this one.
Right, there is Steve's link is now in the chat. Let me grab Joe's. And also go over and check Joe out at the same time he did. Like I said, he was down there, boots on the ground over at Lady Bird Lake. So interesting video over there. If you haven't seen that, you can go over and check that out, and the Delphi stuff as well when you go over and sub up. So sub up to the
That
channels. We appreciate it. It does help us grow. And that's one of our intentions for the new year, is to continue to grow the channels and the true crime community as a whole. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, bring more creative ways to interact with the community. Like, I like the way you do things there, and you have special little things you do with your community.
Yeah, man. I like to involve the community a lot.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, and interacting with them, because they're just like us. They have the questions too, and
Hmm.
see all the things. And like I said, I think with the morning show going forward, I'm going to be able to touch on more things than I normally would on a live stream, deeper dive into something. So,
That'll be really
but
cool.
yeah, I look forward to doing some more on the Idaho 4 case. There's still more in these documents. They were watching him, like, coming and going from a CVS there in Pennsylvania. They were watching the house. They had snipers watching the house and could see him go from room to room even before they did their arrest.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, they were watching him heavy once. Now they're claiming once they got to Pennsylvania. I'm still not so convinced they weren't following him before. I mean,
they,
literally,
they
did they
were they were dumbasses for enlisting Indiana county sheriffs to
as
pull them
their
over. That
as
was
their
like
person? Yeah, they
that
could have
was
used
like
another state
that was like the
altogether.
dumbest move ever, guys. Come
Yeah,
on.
it's like y'all could have chose another state to verify the crop. We need to verify this person is who we thought it was. Here Kohberger is, oh, we're headed to get Thai food. And the dad's all like, oh no, there was a shooting over there. The Kopaka situation he was referring to. Man, that stirred up a lot of
No,
talk. And
right.
meanwhile, Brian's over like, no, we're just going to get Thai food. Like, excuse me, you're going cross country to your family's home for the holidays. You're going to get Thai food? Like, what? Like,
Yep, I'm getting Thai
I
food in
don't
Hendricks
know.
County,
I
Indiana.
guess he lives in
No,
the
dude.
moment. Maybe he lives in the moment. We'll give him that, right? I live
All
in the
right.
moment, not the long run.
It's not a bad thing to live in the moment, though. Let's all
No,
live in the
it's
No,
not.
moment.
definitely not.
It's not,
Yeah.
right? You can't fault a guy for it. Shit. I
I
don't know.
appreciate this moment with Salty and with Steve. Appreciate you.
Yeah, dude. I appreciate you guys bringing me on
Yeah.
here. This has been awesome.
Thank you for coming on and joining us and giving us your
Definitely.
time. I know you're a busy guy on Sundays. You have your murder church on Sunday mornings. If y'all aren't familiar, you should go check that out. Tell us a little bit about that again before we go.
Yeah, man. Anybody that's unfamiliar with me, yeah, come check out, sub up to the channel. And yeah, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern time, I do something called Murder Church. Currently, we're doing the Phil Spector murder trial, which is from like 2007, and it's we're pretty deep into that. But yeah, I'm still planning on doing more Courtney Clinty stuff. We do something on Fridays called Feral Friday, where we just have a chill, basically, we just get away from true crime usually. Like, sometimes it'll still be true crime oriented, even a lot of times, but it's just having a really good time. And but yeah, man, come and check us out for sure.
Yeah, you
Feral
guys.
Friday
Yeah,
is wicked stuff. It's good stuff.
yeah, Feral Friday is always fun.
Yep.
Lately, man, I've not been staying awake for anything. I'll tell myself I am, or I'll start something and I'll fall asleep
Dude, I
while
get
it's
that for
on.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big passer out in front of the TV on the couch.
I'm saying. And when I'm not like on true crime on YouTube or something, I'm like ID channel binge watching stuff, murder. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all whatever. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. Joe and I always appreciate good company up here and good conversation. And I've been wanting to chat with you for a long time. So we'll do this again going forward
Yeah,
sometime.
man. This was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Rock
Everybody
on,
go
Dave.
over and
Rock
those of
on.
you that came in because of Publicly Buzz, we appreciate you. Welcome to our channel. Joe and I we just take turns hosting on my channel once, his channel, my channel. There's some things I cover more, some things he covers more, and so we're back and forth between the two channels. And we usually co-host on the channels together. But we love to have other people in to talk about these things with us and get their perspective as well. And we welcome all your opinions on it. Everybody can be nice and adult like and say their piece without getting sideways. So yeah, Feral Fridays are the best. I'm looking at the comments there. Again, thank you everybody for coming in. We appreciate it. So again, sub up and like and share and all the things, and yeah, click the links and join their channels as well. And we do appreciate all of you coming in. Again, thanks for coming over, Steve, and hanging out with us. We do appreciate it.
No, thank you guys.
All right.
Ciao, everybody. Peace out.
Bye, Joe. Thank you. Have a good afternoon, guys.
Later, guys. Thank you all so much.
See you, Steve.
All right. Bye, everyone.